Hi and welcome to the 5-Minute Business Boost, where you get to choose your 5-minute investment. I'm your host, Sam Nix, and I'll be discussing topics under the headings of business development, marketing, photography, and much more.
Welcome to the 5-Minute Business Boost. Today I'm talking about sticking to your knitting. This is why your point of difference matters. There's an old business saying, stick to your knitting. Well, I've just made that up, but a lot of wise people in my business journey in the early days told me to stick to your knitting. It's almost like stay in your lane. In simple terms, it means knowing what you do well, who you do it for, and not getting distracted trying to be everything to everyone. It sounds easy, but small business owners are constantly tempted to drift. I struggle with it too. A customer asks for just one more thing, or a competitor starts offering a new service. Social media convinces you that you need to pivot every second Tuesday. And before long, your message becomes blurry, your audience gets confused, and your point of difference disappears. The businesses that survive long-term are the ones that stay remarkably consistent. Not boring, not stagnant, just clear. And I've learned this lesson very early. Back in the 80s, I was involved in the ceramics industry during a time when handmade ceramics was booming across Victoria. At one stage, within a 20-kilometre radius, there was about 20 ceramic studios operating. 20 in 20 kilometres. So that's a lot of ceramic people, a lot of potters. There was a lot of kilns, mugs, bowls, teapots, anything that could be cast ceramics and utilised either as a utility item or as decorative wear was being made. And it was really for the same style of customer. And every studio was talented. They had talented, beautiful work by their teachers or the owners, by their students, and many sold similar products. They might have been branded differently or had different names, but they were all very similar. And very American-based. So the hobby ceramic industry back in those days was very American-based, so the moulds would come in from America, the products would come in from America. But the question became, how do you survive when everybody around you technically does the same thing? Some studios chased trends constantly. One month it was rustic brown glazes, next minute it was bright contemporary pieces, sculptural work, hand brush work, tole painting, influences, you name it. Then studios would think about being a wholesaler, and then, they'd try their hand at markets, and then they were doing workshops during the week and on weekends. They kept changing direction, trying to catch the next opportunity. And whilst that's fabulous because it keeps you fresh and you're sort of pivoting and doing all these new things, what I learnt from all of that is that the studios that built the very strong reputations usually stood for something very specific. They became known for a style. Might have been a certain technique, it might have been a certain customer experience, it might have been a feeling or good customer service, or even a potential product category. And their customers remembered them and rewarded them by going weekly or attending their workshops. And at the time, I made a conscious decision to stay on my planned course instead of reacting to what every other studio was doing around me. And now, that didn't mean completely ignoring the market. It just meant understanding my difference and I suppose those opportunities that were around me and then leaning into it harder. And for us, it was having the ability to have multiple clays rather than just the stock standard earthenware clay that everybody else had. We also offered, stoneware, porcelain and terracotta and a commercial white. And on top of that, we had a huge variety of commercial shapes that were only known really in the larger retailer stores. So this became the point of difference. While others zigged, I kept refining what we already did well. And the presentation had to stay consistent, the quality had to stay consistent, and the customer experience stayed consistent. If you've got happy customers, you've got happy repeat business. So over time, people started associating the work with a particular style and standard, and that consistency in a way became the marketing. And honestly, that lesson I still see applies today more than ever. Our small businesses today are under huge pressure to constantly reinvent themselves. You know, one week somebody's saying, oh, you need TikTok. The next week it's AI. Then there's funnels and personal branding, subscription models, courses, memberships, reels, short form video, long form video, newsletters. Oh, good grief. It's bloody exhausting. But none of these are necessarily bad, but if every new shiny object pulls you away from your core identity, customers will stop understanding who you are. And a confused customer rarely buys. So you need to lean into your point of difference. And it's not about being wildly unique. It's about being clearly understood. For example, a cafe might be known for its giant homemade cakes. A photographer might become well known for natural rural branding images or sensational portraiture. A builder might become known for highly detailed works, great communication, and very clean work sites. A mechanic might be known for honesty with older drivers, and a local hall might be known as a place that genuinely brings communities together. And a consultant may be known for non-fluff advice. See what I did there? Anywho, that reputation does take time to build. It's not about getting to know somebody overnight. It's about getting known long term, because that's the goal. You want to be there for the long term. And consistency is what is going to build it. One of the biggest mistakes we make as small business owners is abandoning the thing that makes us successful because we've become bored with it. Meanwhile, the customer has maybe just for the first time discovered them. You might be tired of talking about your speciality, but just bear in mind your audience may not have heard it yet, especially if they're top of funnel. Big brands understand this well. Think about businesses people instantly associated with one thing: fast delivery, cheap furniture, family entertainment, luxury coffee, hardware and sports shoes. Have a think about it. These brands repeat the message relentlessly. And as small business owners, we often stop too early. And the other challenge is comparison. We all do it. Social media has created this world now where everybody can see what everybody else is doing all the time. And this can be helpful for ideas or inspiration, but it can also destroy focus. When you are spending too much time watching your competitors, you start building your business around their direction instead of your own strategy. And that's dangerous. One of the things that irks me is, I'll hear businesses go, oh, well, my competitor's giving 40% off, so that's what I'm going to do now. Oh my God, people, really just know. Just understand, because if you get off your strategy and you see what your competitors are doing and you try to do what they're doing, not every opportunity that they're taking is your opportunity. And I know it's hard, but, sometimes sticking to your knitting means saying no. No to the wrong client, no to the wrong service or offering, no to the trend that doesn't suit your audience, or no to expanding too quickly, and no to becoming diluted. And that discipline in itself can be incredibly powerful, especially in regional and small business communities where reputation spreads fast. And remember, people remember you. And they remember your business if you are reliable, consistent, and clear about what you stand for. And look, in this really noisy world, clarity is valuable. Your point of difference doesn't need fireworks and a marching band, although that would be pretty cool. Sometimes it's just simply, we do this very well and we keep doing it really well. And that can be often enough. Because while everybody else is spinning in circles, chasing the next shiny thing, the business quietly sticking to their knitting is usually the ones that are going to be standing 10 or 20 years later. Until next time, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the 5-Minute Business Boost. For more information, follow me on socials, sign up for my newsie, or check out my website to see how we can work together to reach your small business goals. Remember, anything is possible, especially in the northeast of Victoria. Until next time, cheerio.